there's a big disconnect um, over that subject because you have what Hollywood puts out and you have what the military is.
Yeah.
And Hollywood puts out this fake bravado that this is how the military is and this is what is acceptable to do in the military and what
Like Heartbreak Ridge. Yeah. As much as I like that, movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the reality of it. You're talking to a human being,
Yeah.
and there's certain taboo subjects that you shouldn't talk to a human being about
No.
unless that person brings that subject up themselves and wants to share it with you. And so, in this situation, my mother was a doctor. She still is a doctor. And I had been home a short time from returning from my combat tour in Iraq, where I was there for a year. And, because of Hollywood and because of the media and the portrayal of veterans who've been to combat all having PTSD and having done certain things in combat, she felt it was acceptable to ask me if I had to engage the enemy and take somebody's life, if I had killed anybody. And, for my mother to ask that, and me knowing how knowledgeable she was and how educated she was, and being a doctor, that she should know that that's not a question that's acceptable to ask somebody.
Yeah.
And so I got upset because she asked me, not because it's an upsetting subject, it's because it's a very personal subject and I hadn't broached the subject with her first. And I knew it was all because of the media. And
Right.
her being a doctor, you being in the medical field, that uh, one of the side, one of the problems with medicine is the mistakes that are made, whether they're intentional, unintentional, because of medications not being, somebody doesn't tell a doctor that they're on one medication, or the person doesn't know that they're allergic to something and they get
Right.
introduced to it. And you know I knew
Yeah.
that a lot of people are injured or killed because of medicine and
I
prescriptions.
think
And
the third,
so,
third, third leading cause of death in the United States, I believe, is you
right.
know,
And
happens in
so
the hospital.
I flipped it on her and I said, have you killed anybody today, the last week, the last year? And she got all offended and she got upset with me for asking that question of her. And I'm like, why do you then think it was acceptable to ask me?
Yeah.
Because the media shows it, and that's what you think is acceptable, you know? And so it it's one of the things that has caused rift between my family and myself, is that I'm that blunt and I'm that forward,
Yeah.
the other thing, and then of course, is there's still that stigma that everybody who's been to combat has PTSD. And you know, when I was deploying to Iraq, we went with our battalion surgeon, and I'd known him for a couple of years. We come back, and before you come back, you've got to do a questionnaire, and of course,
Yeah.
it's the military, so it's yes, no, fill in the blanks, and it was online.
Yeah.
And I then have to go in and talk to the battalion surgeon as he reviews all my answers. And he gets done, he looks at me, and just like you and I are talking, he goes, so do you want to see anybody when you get back to Pendleton? I'm like, no, I'm good. And he realized I did not understand the seriousness of his question.
Yeah.
And so he stopped and looked at me and goes, are you refusing treatment? And I went, whoa, no, 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 I'm not refusing treatment. I didn't realize I needed treatment. So if I need treatment, I'll go see treatment. He's like, okay. And I said, I don't I don't understand, why you're asking that though. He goes, because of your questionnaires and the answers the way you answered them,
Yeah.
I have to refer you to treatment. I can't override it. And I
Oh,
was like, oh, okay. And so then, I get back to Camp Pendleton. I'm with my unit. We're doing our deployment, dedeployment, and getting everything turned over. And I go to see the battalion surgeon, and I get my referral to the medical hospital on Camp Pendleton. and I go into the ward, and I have to fill out this time another questionnaire. This time it's a written questionnaire, but once again,
Yeah.
it's all filling. It's all bubbles. Yes, no, yes, and it's a couple pages long. I get done, and on the back, it actually has a question: is there anything you'd like to add? And it's a whole page. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay, great. And it's on the back of it. So, I almost missed it. And so I just write in
I
there.
only know those when you're filling out like for like disability. It's like they give you like a page if you want to explain
Yeah.
anything more.
Yeah. And so, I flipped it over and I wrote, in there and I said, I hate effing questionnaires. And in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to see an O3 in the Navy,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's what my battalion surgeon was. I'm going to go see the equivalent of a Marine captain, you
yeah.
know, and we're going to be roughly the same age, the same experience. And so, it's not going to be a big deal.
Right.
I go back, I get my appointment, and I come back to the hospital, and I'm walking down the hallway to see my doctor now. And just like anywhere else, the first office is the most junior person, and the last
Right.
office, that corner office, is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
senior person.
That's true. I forgot about that.
And I walk into a captain's office, the equivalent of a Marine colonel,
Yeah.
and she's in charge of all the
Oh,
psychiatrists.
Navy captain, you're saying? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
all the psychiatrists and all the psychologists in the whole base are
yeah. Yeah.
hers. And I'm
Right.
just like, oh, great. This is this is not where I want to be.
No.
And you know, she goes through everything, and she she gets done with the written questionnaire, and she's just about to put it down. And as an afterthought, she turns it over and just looks at me and is like, "So, Gunnery Sergeant, what's the problem with the questionnaire?" And I go, "You're taking a year of my life out of context. You have no experiences before my time in Iraq. You have
Yeah,
no, you don't even have my job on this questionnaire. You don't even know that, I've been a military policeman, and I've gone to situations where people have lost their lives, whether it be a car accident, somebody who took their own life, you know, had a training accident where a vehicle, rolled over, and somebody lost their life. You
yeah,
have no idea what I've done in the Marine Corps. And then you have no idea what my life was before I joined the Marine Corps. That both my parents were doctors, that as a kid, I was reading JAMA, the Journal of American Medicine, before I picked
yeah.
up Life magazine or Time magazine or anything like that. You have no idea. And so that was, the other side of that coin.
And that's somebody in the military. So imagine, well, I don't need to tell you to imagine for those watching, imagine a civilian who's never even served in the military in terms of trying to trying to convey any sense of who you are or what you've
Yeah.
done to somebody like that, which is impossible.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, and that's, fortunately for me, it's one of the good things that I can do is I go to the VA for my treatment. Albany Medical College is right next to the VA, so they send over residents. So I deal with a lot of new doctors that are learning their skills. They're trying to pick their specialty,
yeah,
and they were looking at my knees because I have torn the meniscus and I have arthritis and other problems with my knees. And so the first time I did this, the doctor said, why are your knees so bad? And without thinking, I go, I did 20 years in the Marine Corps, and it's just boom. There's no
oh yeah.
no recollection, no connection, no idea of what I'm talking about.
And just for context, not to cut you off, I remember in at Camp Pendleton, one of the things we learned was that statistically speaking, 1 year. I know in terms of at least for infantry, but I mean everyone in the Marine Corps is
I know exactly
laboring.
what you're going to say.
You know, for every 1 year, your body age is like four.
Yeah,
So somebody does even just 4 years in the Marine Corps. I mean their bones have aged over 20 years.
yeah,
It's not a. I mean that's one of the things I had to get used to was it's incredible how much weight you carry in terms of the packs and the flak jacket and the way you had to tighten it. I mean, I remember just undoing everything. My rib cages are all bruised from all the straps, and your waist is all cut
and
up because you just
that's exactly what I had to explain to the doctor.
in standard issue footwear, by the way.
And so the way I did it, the next time I went in, they asked me why my knees were so bad. I explained to them, because of all that equipment, I was morbidly obese. I used to weigh 400 pounds. And they're
Right,
looking at me and they're like, there's no way you weighed 400 pounds. And so I'll show them a picture of me with all my combat gear on, my helmet, my flak, my rifle, my
right.
pack, my ammunition, my water, all of that. And
And
I
you
go,
weren't just walking. It's
yeah. And I go, that's 100 pounds right there.
yeah,
And then I'll show them a picture with me with my pack on. And I go, and that Winnebago on my back is another
yeah,
100 pounds. And I moved and functioned like that for 20 years with 200 extra pounds on my body at times.
right.
And that's when the light went on in their head. Oh, that's why your knees are jacked up. That's why your back is jacked up. That's why everything,
Yeah.
your whole spine, your whole body, all your bones are the way they are. So
Yeah, and that's just a message for those veterans who are going through it. Just continue to educate, continue to have patience, and put that perspective out there. Because what you just did for those, I don't know what they were, doctors, I suppose, they
residents,
residents, they kept that for the rest of their careers. Even today, I'm
hopefully,
sure no one else has to explain themselves, hopefully, like you had to. So, because some people could have just been like "F you," or like I've seen, is a lot of people just give up. They won't go to the VA, or they won't file their claim. They just get so fed up with it all. Just kind of keep at it. It's worth it. Keep doing what you got to do. Keep trying to educate people on what your experience is like.